Well,
So,
that's he had good cause to fire.
So, with that being said, this is where we're going to turn it over to you, Miss Robot. I put the link in the private freaking chat on the sides for the topic that you wanted to talk about, which is up. And this one has to do with populists are gaining power and keeping it. What comes next? So,
okay, I'm just trying to find the thread that it was on.
okay. Well, I've got the link. I've got the link that you posted in the chat.
Oh yeah, can you like reply to it again in
No, it's right here in
where?
Rumble in the private live chat.
Oh, okay, but I posted a whole bunch of links. Remember, if you can find that thread, you probably didn't see it.
Which site?
It's on Politico, is what he got. So
Hang on.
the one that he posted.
Let me try and find this thread.
You want me to put it on our chat?
It's all right. I'll find it in a second. Here it is.
Like it's
So basically, I wanted to just talk about how people are starting to wake up to the great scam that's being played on them.
Hold up. Don't run through that whole thing yet, because freaking like go into your article and discuss.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, fact basics.
Yeah.
So this is about populism on the rise, and I noticed this first started in like 2022, and then when was this one this one has only just been published recently.
Mm-hmm.
In 2017, Donald Trump was almost the only nationalist populist leader in the West. Liberal democracy, its protection at home and its promotion abroad was the political default across America and Europe. The United States' marquee conference for hard right conservatives, CPAC, featured only one major foreign speaker that year. Britain's Nigel Farage, who had just resigned leader of the United Kingdom Independence Party after a successful Brexit campaign. They proved that Brexit was also basically a psyop by the intelligence community as well.
Please.
No, it's true. Cambridge Analytica and all those companies, they swung the vote. But anyway, I digress. 8 years later, I'll prove it to you later, Mark.
Yeah, you'll have to.
8 years later, Trump had joined on the world stage by a plethora of right-wing populists, and nationalism had become mainstream. CPAC 2025 was a verifiable international event with guests ranging from Argentina's President Javier Milei to Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico to Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, among many others. But while it's clear that nationalism is having a great moment, for now it's just that, a moment, supposedly.
I love the language that is coming out of this article, the hard right.
Well, Politico has always been sort of against Trump.
Politics is not necessarily about nationalism. It could be. You could also talk about small government in this respect. The framing of this article is somewhat questionable.
Well, definitely. It's Politico. Need I say more? Yeah. But I just did a quick search on what I was kind of getting at.
Again, be careful with sources.
I think that's the main thing I wanted to say from this article, just to basically say that, there is a moment in time now, thanks to Trump mainly, that populism has become more mainstream than what it was.
Again, be careful about the term populism. That has been misused quite a lot lately. And as I pointed out to you yesterday, populism just means a party that is popular. So you could argue
it's the word they're using,
any
populists.
party that become a government is in effect popular because they receive the majority of the votes.
No, that's not. I don't think that's how it's being used.
Yeah,
National
I
populism.
know how it's being used, and it's again, I question the efficacy of this and objectiveness of that article.
Now hold on a
If,
minute. Hold on. We're at
if you-
2.5. We're at 2.5 hours. This is where we're going to get back to this topic, but before then, we need to take about a 15-minute break. You guys go get your coffee.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't noticed yet, Mark Edworthy is our token naysayer, British complainer extraordinaire. Do not be surprised when he disagrees with me vehemently.
Exactly. And so everybody knows.
You tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Well, that's why I brought up the dictionary right here, Matt.
Hold on. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this music on. It's this music that freaking I have put together that's all from Mark or Mr. Robot.
Before you do that, I just want to point out here to Mark, populist is a member of a political party claiming to represent ordinary people against the establishment. There we go, right there in the dictionary.
Okay, so
that's one definition, yeah.
So we're going to talk about a few suspicious, I would say, some people might say dubious political actions or events that's going on right now. And we'll talk about things going on in France, Brazil, Romania, Canada, and Australia for now. And we'll start off, we might as well do it in that order.
No,
First
actually,
of all,
hold up. I've got those sorted out. So,
okay, you want to do them in a specific order?
Yeah, let's hit this populist thing because this is actually a good conversation that popped up with us.
Political philosophy or movement that represents or is claimed to represent the interests of ordinary people, especially against the establishment. That's how I tend to use the word.
Now, the article that you came out with on the opinion, it was one thing that stuck out that really sparked a conversation with us three last night was the part where it says, but while it's clear that nationalism is having a moment for now, it's just that, a moment. Now, they use the word nationalism with populist. And that is something that really stuck out with us. And I think that is something that really does need to be discussed too, because we had a really good conversation about that.
Just on that one point, just before we continue, what that article is saying is that they're in favour of globalism. They're in favour of no sovereignty. They're in favour of borderless countries.
That tends to be their agenda. So my sort of stance on it is there has been, I don't know, in the last 50 years or so, there's been a sort of global takeover of Western nations by what is termed liberal democracy. But really, I would say that is a wolf in sheep's clothing, where the liberalism is actually authoritarianism and democracy is actually, elitist control of the people. And so since we have this new system of like basically fascism, nationalism is now like people are becoming interested in that again. And because it's not the leading, the dominant political philosophy, it's becoming, it's being taken on by the populist movement, because it has worked in the past for places like Germany or whatever.
Just on a minor point, got to be very careful of the word liberalism, because that can mean two different things. You've got progressive liberalism, which you are talking about, and then you've got classical liberalism, which means smaller government, more control over, or more responsibility by the individual.
Right, and that's the United States Constitution. That's what it's set up on, is classical liberalism.
But you guys never had a liberal party in the US, did you? Or
at first we did, but then it got replaced slowly by conservatives that crept in, and I wouldn't even call them conservatives. They were more elitist Whig Party members who.
Well, that's what became the Democratic Party, isn't it?
No, not really. The Democratic Party is a freaking mutated version of what the Republican Party was.
You've got to be very careful about looking at the term Republican and Democrat in an historical point of view, because arguably since 1950 they've sort of swapped positions.
Yeah, that's right. Well, even more recent, I would say, because like in JFK's time, even the Democratic Party was more liberal. It was like, for power to the people, progressive, what would you call it? More rights to freedom of speech, all that stuff.
So you're talking about classical liberalism rather than progressive liberalism.
Yeah, I'm just talking about like it's swapped now, but classically liberalism comes from the word liberal or liberty, which is meant to mean freedom, right? And now it started off that way. That's how they sucked people into it. But now the psychopaths have grabbed onto that power of the people and basically turned it into authoritarianism. And like you saw just before, Biden was censoring his political opposition. He impeached Trump multiple times. All this kind of stuff, censoring people.
And now you're talking about more progressive liberalism.
When you see, don't ever think that the new form of liberal is the same as what it was before. Now, when you look at the classical liberalism, you have to look at John Locke, okay? You have to read John Locke's literature, and then after that, you go in and you look at the Constitution of the United States, and you'll start seeing similarities, okay? John Locke was exiled from England because of his beliefs, so don't mistake John Locke as being something that was implemented in England either, because England was against John Locke's belief system. He actually, I think he migrated to Sweden what was the freaking country where the Pilgrims actually went to before they came over to the United States? It was where all the hippies are, the ones that smoke all the dope and shit.
That was the U.S.
What's it? Dutch. There you go.
Dutch is a country.
It was a Dutch country. It was a Dutch country. But that's where he ended up at, and then he started getting into more discussions about classic liberalism and discussing the right of the individual. And things of that nature. And also, let me point out something else. You'll hear a lot of people always talk about radicals, okay? Now, don't be fooled by that. That is not a new form of political movement that's taken place. Radicals have been around since the French Revolution.